The deep space exploration vessel ISS, Valiant glided silently through the dark stretch of the rim zone. This was a part of space that charts only half finished, where old star maps had more blank spots than details. Most ships avoided it. Captain. Morgan didn't. She had been chasing the strange signal for almost 2 days. From the command chair, Morgan watched the stars slide across the forward viewport. "Helm, bring us within 1 light minute of the source," she said, her voice calm, but carrying that edge of focus her crew knew well. The signal was faint at first, a simple, repeating pulse. But then, without warning, the pattern changed. It became a steady tone, deep and strange, as if the universe itself was humming. Lieutenant Rios, the comms officer, frowned at his display. "Captain, it's broadcasting in a format I've never seen. It's not random noise. Someone or something is sending this on purpose." Morgan leaned forward. "Can you translate?" "Not yet," Rios said, his voice tense. "But it's aggressive, like a warning." The air on the bridge seemed to get heavier. The crew didn't like warnings in unknown space. "Keep listening," Morgan said. "If it's a warning, I want to know what for." The Valiant crept closer, her engines barely above a whisper. Out the viewport, a faint shimmer hung against the starfield, like heat rising off metal. At first it was just a ripple, then the ripple grew, the stars behind it bending. Twisting, the shimmer solidified. A warship the size of a small city slid into view, its hull black as shadow, lined with glowing red scars that pulsed like veins. "Contact." The tactical officer in Sentinel called out. "That's a Haelor warship. Markings confirm it class unknown, but massive. Bigger than anything we've ever seen." Morgan felt her stomach tighten. The Haelors were dangerous. They had fought skirmishes with human colonies before, but never this far out. On the main display, the Haelor ship turned toward them. "They've locked sensors on us," Kayla reported. "Energy spikes, Captain. They're charging weapons." Morgan's voice was steady. "Raise shields. Prepare evasive maneuvers." The comm station crackled, and then a harsh, layered voice filled the bridge, speaking in broken Galactic standard. "Human vessel. You trespass in Haelor Empire territory. Power down and surrender, or be destroyed." Morgan kept her expression calm, though inside she was already calculating a dozen ways this could turn bad. "This is Captain Morgan of the ISS Valiant. We are an exploration vessel, not a military ship. We mean you no harm." Silence. Then the voice returned, sharper, colder. "Lies. We know your kind. You scout before you strike. You will not leave this place." Kella's eyes flicked to Morgan. "Captain, they're arming primary batteries. Helm, break off. Course 217, full burn." The Valiant surged forward, engines flaring. But the Haelor ship moved faster than something that big had any right to. In seconds, it was closing the gap. The first shot came without warning, no flash. No beam, just a sudden spear of light that ripped past the Valiant's starboard side. The shields screamed under the impact. "Shields holding," Kayla said, though her voice shook, barely. Morgan gritted her teeth. "Return fire. Aim for their weapons array. Let's see if we can discourage them." The Valiant's pulse cannons lit the darkness, streaks of blue energy slamming into the Haelor hull. Now the shots left glowing scars, but the massive ship didn't slow. "They're still coming," warned. Rios swiveled in his chair. Eyes wide. "Captain, that signal? It's changed again. The tone, there's another layer. I think it's a distress call." Mutt, but not from them. From something else. Morgan didn't have time to ask what he meant. The Haelor ship fired again, and this time the blast hit square on the shields, shoving the Valiant sideways like a leaf in a storm. "Shields at 40%, Kayla reported. "Engineering," Morgan said into the comm. "We need more power." "2 shields now. Below decks." Chief Engineer Lauren's voice came back, strained. "I'm already rerouting everything, Captain. But whatever they're using, it's chewing through our defenses like paper." Another hit. Sparks rained across. The bridge. Console exploded near the navigation station. Morgan's mind raced. They couldn't outrun this ship. And they couldn't win a straight fight. Then Rios spoke again, his voice urgent. "Captain, the distress signal, it's coming from inside the rift." Morgan frowned. The rift. The rim zone was dangerous enough, but the rift was a scar. In space itself, a strange, unstable region no sane captain entered. "Yes," Rios said, "and it's answering us." Before Morgan could respond, every display on the bridge flickered. The Haelor ship paused its attack for a fraction of a second, as if it too sensed something. Then the stars shifted behind the Valiant space. Twisted open like torn fabric, a black void appeared, surrounded by a swirling halo of white fire. The sight made the crew's stomachs churn, like they were looking into something that should not exist. From within that void, something moved. First, it looked like a shadow. Then the shadow grew teeth rows of them, metal and sharp, pressed into the hull of a ship so vast it blocked out the rift's light. It was silent. No comms, no weapons fire. Just watching the Haelor warship stopped moving. On the bridge of the Valiant, no one spoke. Kayla whispered, "What is that?" Morgan didn't answer. She had heard the stories rumors told in mess halls and bars near deep space docks. A ghost ship, ancient machine that had no crew, no flag, and no mercy. The Sentinel, it had been spotted only a handful of times in human history. Always after a great battle, always leaving nothing alive, the distress signal stopped, instead. A new signal filled the Valiant's comm system, not as sound, but as a cold vibration through the hull. It was like the ship itself was being spoken. "2," Rio swallowed. "Captain, it's hailing the Haelor vessel." On the main screen, the Haelor ship's lights flickered, its weapons powered down. Then, in a voice that made the hair on Morgan's neck rise, the Sentinel spoke in perfect Haelor language, "You started this. We'll finish it." The channel went dead. The Haelor ship broke formation, turning slightly, as if unsure whether to fight or flee. The Sentinel began to move forward, gliding without thrusters, its massive hull, silent but heavy with intent. Morgan's heart pounded. She didn't know if the Sentinel saw them as friend, foe, or prey. "Helm," she said quietly. "Hold position." The Haelor ship opened fire first. Streams of energy blazed toward the Sentinel. The beams hit and vanished, absorbed into the black plating without a trace. The Sentinel didn't fire back immediately. It simply accelerated, sliding toward the Haelors like a predator closing in on its prey. Kella's hands were white-knuckled. On her console, "Captain, if it decides we're a threat, I know," Morgan said. The Sentinel reached the Haelor ship. For a moment, the two giants drifted side by side. Then, without warning, the Sentinel's hull split open. From the gap, dozens of thin silver spears shot out. Slicing through the Haelor armor like paper, in less than a minute, the Haelor vessel was silent. No weapons, no engines. Dead in space, the Sentinel turned, its prow angled toward the Valiant. On the bridge, no one breathed. The silence stretched, and every second felt longer than the last. Then the Valiant's lights flickered. The main screen went black. A voice calm, deep, and mechanical spoke in Galactic standard. "Human vessel. We have business." Channel closed. The Valiant systems came back online, but no one moved. The shadow of the Sentinel filled the VIEWP or two. Morgan gripped the arm of her chair. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for certain. The Haelors had made a mistake, but she wasn't sure yet if humanity would survive it. The wreck of the Haelor warship drifted silently in the black, its hull torn and twisted. The ISS Valiant floated nearby, dwarfed by the dark shadow of the Sentinel. No one on the bridge spoke. Every breath, every movement felt dangerous, as if the ancient machine could hear them. The comms crackled once, and then the same calm, deep voice returned. "Human vessel, you're far from home." Captain Morgan kept her voice steady. "This is Captain Morgan of the ISS Valiant."
Became.
Here responding to a signal. "Who, what are you?" There was a pause. The lights on the Sentinel's hull pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of some enormous creature. We are the Sentinel, protector of boundaries, destroyer of violators. The Haelor Empire has crossed the line. Morgan glanced at Lieutenant Rios. His eyes said what he didn't dare speak. They were talking to something far older and far more dangerous than anything in the official records. What line? Morgan asked carefully. The one you will not survive crossing. Before she could respond, the Sentinel moved. It turned away from the Valiant, its massive bulk drifting toward the rift's swirling halo. Captain, Rios said. The signals changed again. It's scanning us. A low vibration rolled through the Valiant. Every console flickered. The ship's AI issued a quiet, almost nervous tone. External data intrusion detected. Kella's voice was tight. They're in our systems. Shut it down, Morgan ordered. I can't, Kayla replied. Whatever they're doing, it's faster than us. The lights dimmed. Then, just as quickly, everything returned to normal. On the come, the Sentinel spoke again. Your weapons are insufficient. Your shields are weak. Your engines. Interesting. Morgan frowned. Interesting how? They carry a signature I have not seen in 2,000 cycles. Before Morgan could ask, the Sentinel's tone changed, sharper now. The Haelor Empire comes. Rios swung to his console. Multiple signatures incoming, big ones. The tactical display lit up with red icons, 3 Haelor battleships, each nearly the size of the one already destroyed. They were closing fast. Morgan's mind raced. The Valiant couldn't take even one of those ships in a fair fight. The Sentinel spoke without emotion. They believe they can overwhelm. They are wrong. The rift behind the Sentinel began to expand. Its halo flared brighter, twisting space in a way that made the Valiant's hull groan. Captain, Rios said in a low voice. If we get pulled in there, the first Haelor battleship fired. A beam of white-hot energy lanced toward the Valiant. The shields flared under the impact. They're targeting us, Kayla shouted. The Sentinel moved faster than anything its size should. A blast of blue-white energy erupted from its hull, not as a beam, but as a sudden wave that rolled across the battleship like a tidal surge. When it passed, the Haelor ship was gone. No explosion, no wreckage. It's just empty space where it had been. Other 2 Haelor vessels hesitated. The Sentinel turned toward them. Morgan's voice was low, almost a whisper. Elm, back us off. Slowly. No. The Haelors opened fire, both ships unleashing a storm of energy. The Sentinel's black hull swallowed every shot without a single spark. Then, as if bored, it fired again. 2 lances of light punched through both ships at once. In seconds, the battlefield was silent. The Valiant's crew stared at the tactical display. For Haelor warships gone, the Sentinel drifted closer to the Valiant. Its voice came through again. They will send more. We'll send everything. Morgan swallowed hard. Then we should get out of here. No, you will follow. There is work to do. The rift flared. The Sentinel turned toward it. Waiting for a reply, it slid into the swirling void. Morgan sat frozen for a heartbeat. Then she gave the order. Helm, follow it in. The crew exchanged uneasy looks, but no one argued. The Valiant angled toward the rift, its engines rumbling. As the white fire swallowed the view, the ship's lights dimmed again. The Sentinel's voice whispered through the cum low and cold. The Haelor Empire does not understand. Made a fatal error, but so have you. The Valiant crossed the threshold. The stars disappeared. The rift was not like normal space. The moment the ISS Valiant crossed the threshold, the view outside the viewport became a living nightmare darkness. That wasn't just the absence of light, but a depth so heavy it felt like it could crush thought itself. Streams of pale fire drifted in slow, unnatural arcs, twisting into shapes that dissolved before the mind could fully understand them. The crew said nothing. Every sound seemed swallowed by the air. Even the hum of the engines felt muted, Captain. Morgan sat rigid in her chair, eyes fixed on the enormous silhouette of the Sentinel ahead. Its hull glowed faintly now, patterns of light running along it like veins, as if the rift itself was feeding it. Captain, Lieutenant Rios whispered. I'm getting readings, but they don't make sense. The rift is alive. Morgan didn't answer. The ship's AI voice cut in, flat and uncharacteristically subdued. Warning. Spatial stability here is variable. Duration of safe passage, unknown. The Sentinel slowed. Without turning, it spoke. You have entered a place between places. Here, power shifts. Here, the dead speak. Kella's hands tightened on her console. Captain, I'm detecting multiple energy sources, moving around us. In the darkness ships, hundreds of them. Their hulls were broken, scorched, twisted into grotesque spirals. Some looked human, some alien, and some unlike anything in known records. They drifted silently, caught in the rift like flies in amber. Then, one of them moved. It was a Haelor cruiser, its hull pitted and scarred, yet its engines flickered weakly. It turned toward the Valiant without firing a shot. Its comm system crackled to life. A voice strained, desperate spoke in accented Galactic standard. Help us, please. Kella's eyes widened. Captain, they're alive. Before Morgan could respond, the Sentinel's voice rumbled through the comm. No, they are not. The Haelor ship drifted closer. Its hull began to split, metal groaning as if under enormous pressure. From the cracks, something black and fluid seeped out, spreading like ink and water. It swarmed over the wreck, and in seconds, the ship was gone, consumed into the rift's darkness. The crew stared in stunned silence. What was that? Rios breathed. The Sentinel did not answer. Instead, it continued forward, deeper into the rift. Morgan forced her voice steady. Why have you brought us here? To show you what waits for those who play at Empire, the Sentinel replied. The Haelor Empire has awoken things they do not understand, things that feed. Kella's console beeped sharply. Captain contacts. Multiple. And they're following us. On the tactical display, blips appeared one by one, surrounding the Valiant's position. The signatures were faint, but they were closing in fast. Morgan stood, shields up. All hands to battle stations. Rift's darkness rippled. From the ripples, sleek, insect-like shapes emerged. Their hulls shimmered with oily reflections, their movements jerky and unnatural. Rios's voice was tight. Not Haelor. Not human. Nothing in our database matches them. The Sentinel slowed as if waiting for the attackers to approach. They are the Riftborn, spawn of the Void, and they have tasted blood. Without warning, the first Riftborn ship lunged toward the Valiant, moving impossibly fast. Kayla fired pulse cannons, blue bolts tearing into the thing's hull. It split. Apart in a spray of black liquid, but the pieces didn't drift away. They curved back together, reforming. Captain Kayla shouted, "Our weapons don't work!" The Sentinel finally moved. A burst of energy erupted from its hull, but, unlike before, it was not light. It was sound. A deep, resonating vibration rolled through the rift, making the Valiant's hull groan in protest. The Riftborn ships froze in place. Go, the Sentinel ordered. Before they remember hunger, Morgan hesitated. Go where? To Source. To the mistake. The Sentinel turned again, leading the way through a narrow corridor of flickering white fire. The Riftborn did not follow, but their shapes lingered in the darkness. Watching as the Valiant fell in behind the ancient warship, Rios spoke in a low voice. Captain, I think I know why it called our engines interesting. The energy signature. It's almost identical to the rift's own patterns. Morgan frowned. You're saying our ship is connected to this place? Yes, Rios said. And I don't think it's by accident. Ahead, the darkness began to thin. A faint red glow spread across the rift's horizon, pulsing like the heartbeat of something massive. The Sentinel's voice came one last time before the glow filled the viewport. Behold the heart of the Haelor's fatal error. The Valiant emerged into a vast, swirling storm of energy. At its center hung a massive structure part machine, part living thing, its surface shifting and changing as if breathing. Dozens of Haelor ships surrounded it, firing desperately into its core. Their shots vanished without effect. Morgan felt her throat tighten. She didn't know what it was, but she knew with absolute certainty that if it broke free of the rift, no empire, human or alien, would survive, and the Haelors had woken it. The storm of red energy churned around the living machine at the rift's center, each pulse echoing through the Valiant's hull like a deep drumbeat. Captain Morgan watched as Haelor's ships hurled everything they had at the Thing missiles. Energy beams, exotic particle blasts, yet nothing touched it. The attacks dissolved before reaching its shifting surface, as though the air around it was swallowing them whole. Captain Lieutenant Rios said, his voice low, "This is beyond anything we've ever seen. It's not just blocking their weapons. It's eating them. Every shot is feeding it." Morgan's jaw tightened. "So the more they fight it, the stronger it gets." "Yes," Rios said. The Sentinel glided toward the chaos without hesitation. As it moved, its deep voice filled the Valiant's comes. The Haelor Empire unearthed this in a forbidden sector. They believed it was a weapon to win their wars. They were wrong. Kayla glanced at Morgan, her face pale. "Captain, if that thing leaves the rift..." Morgan didn't need the rest. "I know." Then a sharp tone cut through the tension. "Captain," Kayla said, eyes locked on her console, "we're getting a direct transmission from the Haelor flagship." Morgan's first instinct was to ignore it. But the Haelors were losing. Maybe they wanted to talk. "Put it through," she said. The main display flickered to life, showing a tall, sharp-featured Haelor with pale gray skin and black predatory eyes. His armor was ceremonial, ornate, yet battle-worn. "This is Lord Zaire of the Haelor Empire," he said, his voice like cold metal. "Human, Captain, you are in violation of our war zone. Withdraw immediately, and I will allow your ship to leave unharmed." Morgan leaned forward slightly. "You're in no position to make threats, Lord Zaire. Whatever that thing is, it's not yours to control anymore." Zaire's expression didn't change, but his eyes narrowed. "We have contingency plans. Your presence here is unnecessary." Before Morgan could reply, the cum feed glitched, static tearing across the screen. The image of Lord Zaire froze, then vanished, replaced by something far more unsettling another face. One Morgan recognized instantly. It was the Sentinel, not its vast black hull, but a projection of a humanoid form, metallic, featureless, yet radiating an unnatural presence. "Haelor flagship," it said in flawless Haelor tongue, "you began this. We'll finish it." On the tactical display, the Haelor flagship abruptly shifted formation, pulling back from the central battle. Confusion rippled through the remaining Haelor ships, their fire faltering. Rios glanced at Morgan. "That wasn't just a threat, that was personal." Kayla frowned. "Why send that message to them now?" The Sentinel's voice returned, this time addressing the Valiant. "The Haelors will run. They will abandon their fleet. But not before making their final mistake." "What mistake?" Morgan asked. "They will try to take you," for Morgan could process that. Alarms flared across the bridge. Kayla shouted, "Boarding craft incoming." Multiple closing fast. The Valiant lurched as small, jagged ships detached from the Haelor fleet, streaking toward them with frightening speed, shields up. All weapons. The rest of Morgan's order was drowned out by the first impact. The deck trembled, and the sound of grinding metal echoed through the hull. "Breach detected, Deck 3, the ship's AI warned. Morgan slammed the cum switch. "Security teams repel boarders. Non-lethal if possible, find out why they're here." Kella's eyes went wide. "Captain, one of the boarding craft isn't carrying soldiers. It's carrying something else." Morgan turned sharply. "Define something else." "Energy readings off the charts. I don't even think it's alive. Not in the way we understand." On the main display, the Sentinel moved into the path of several Haelor ships, blasting two apart in seconds. Yet it didn't move to intercept the boarding craft. Rios caught Morgan's eye. "It's letting them through."
The realization hit like a cold knife. "Why?"
The answer came not from her crew, but from the Sentinel itself, its voice deep and certain. "To test you." The bridge lights flickered. Somewhere deep in the ship, the sound of tearing metal rang out again, closer this time. Morgan stood, her voice like steel. "Seal the bridge. Lock down all bulkheads. We end this here." but in the pit of her stomach, she knew this was no ordinary boarding action. The Haelors weren't here to kill them. They were here for something far more dangerous, and she had a feeling it was already on board. The first explosion shook the ISS Valiant so hard that half the crew on the bridge were thrown from their seats. Warning sirens screamed through the ship, red lights flashing across every bulkhead, multiple hull breaches on Deck 3 and Deck 5. The ship's AI reported. Hostile presence confirmed. Captain Morgan gripped the arm of her chair. Seal off breach sections. Security teams to intercept. Her voice was steady, but her mind was already racing. The Haelors weren't here to wipe the Valiant out. They could have done that with their warships. No, they wanted something. Something they thought was worth risking a boarding action in the middle of a battle with the Sentinel. "Captain," Kayla said from Tactical. "The primary boarding craft. It's already split apart inside our hangar bay." Nothing came out. Morgan's eyes narrowed. "Rios, get me visuals." Rios tapped his console, and the hangar feed filled the main screen. The Haelor craft sat motionless, its hull cracked and scorched. Steam hissed from the splits in its plating. The bay was eerily still. Then the metal began to move. It folded in on itself, twisting and reshaping, forming something tall and skeletal. Long limbs unfurled, ending in clawed tips that scraped sparks from the deck. Faint red glow pulsed from within its frame, as if a heart of molten metal beat inside it. "What in hell is that?" Rios whispered. The thing lifted its head. The camera feed flickered. The ship's AI chimed in, its tone edged with something that almost sounded like unease. "Unknown entity detected. Energy output unstable. Recommend immediate evacuation of this section." Morgan shook her head. "Not until I know what it wants." The creature took its first step toward the inner hangar doors. With each movement, the Valiant's lights dimmed briefly, as if the thing was pulling power directly from the ship. Kella's console flashed. "Captain, the reactor is showing a sudden energy spike." "Source, it's the creature. It's feeding energy into the reactor core." Morgan's blood went cold. "That's not sabotage, that's a setup. If it overloads the reactor," Lauren's voice, the chief engineer, came through the cum, urgent and raw. "Captain, reactor's climbing fast. If it hits critical, we're done. I've got maybe 3 minutes before I lose control of the core." Morgan didn't hesitate. "Security teams concentrate on that thing in the hangar. I don't care. What it takes, stop it." Gunfire erupted over the cum channel. Shouts, then a scream. "Captain." Lauren's voice cut in again. "Small problem weapons aren't touching it. It's absorbing the energy." Rios looked up from his console. "Captain, the Haelors know exactly what this thing does. They've sent it to take us off the board permanently." Outside, through the forward viewport, the Sentinel continued to tear into the Haelor fleet. It didn't even glance at the Valiant. "They're letting this happen," Kayla said quietly. Morgan slammed a fist on her chair arm. "It's not for long. Rios, isolate that hangar." "Lauren, I'm coming down there." She grabbed her sidearm and keyed her cum to the security channel. "Bridge to all hands. We're taking the fight to it. Ain't by me time." By the time Morgan reached the hangar deck, the air was thick with the stench of burning metal. Half the security team lay unconscious or worse. The thing stood at the far end, its glowing core flaring brighter with every second. Lauren met her at the hatch, sweat streaking his face. "Captain, if we don't stop it now, I know." Morgan took a breath. "You said it absorbs energy, right?" "Yeah." "Then we give it more than it can handle." Lauren blinked. "You're thinking of overloading it?" "Exactly. You get me a direct power conduit from the engines to this thing, and we burn it out from the inside." Lauren hesitated. "That'll drop our shields." "Better no shields than no ship." They moved fast. While Lauren rerouted the conduit, Morgan advanced on the creature, firing her sidearm in short, sharp bursts, not to hurt it, but to keep its attention. Each shot struck its metallic limbs and vanished into the glowing core, making it flare brighter. The creature turned toward her fully now, its head tilting unnaturally. It began to move faster, long limbs carrying it across the hangar in loping strides. "Lauren," Morgan shouted. "Almost there." The creature lunged. Morgan rolled aside, the claws missing her by inches. It turned again, faster this time. The glow from its chest was now almost blinding. "Now," Morgan yelled. Lorne slammed a control panel. A surge of raw power roared down the conduit, straight into the creature. It froze mid-step, its limbs locking in place. The glow flared white, brighter and brighter, until the hangar was bathed in blinding light. Then it exploded. The blast knocked Morgan off her feet, hurling her against the bulkhead. When she looked up, the creature was gone. Only a molten scorch mark remained on the deck. The intercom crackled. Kella's voice came through, breathless. "Captain, the Sentinel is hailing us." Morgan got to her feet, brushing metal dust from her uniform. "Put it through." The deep, calm voice filled the hangar. "You have passed the first test. The Haelors will not forgive this." Morgan glared toward the sound of its voice. "And you will explain why you let them board my ship." "You will understand soon," the Sentinel replied. "The next trial begins now." Outside, the viewport filled with the sight of the Haelor homeworld, looming large and bristling with defenses, and every one of them was locking onto the Valiant. The Haelor homeworld filled the Valiant's forward viewport like an angry eye vast. Oceans of dark green jagged continents webbed with glowing cities, and in orbit, a ring of warships bristling with weapons. The sheer number of defense platforms made the battle at the rift look like a warm-up. Kella's voice was tight. "Captain, every single planetary defense cannon is locking onto us. We're dead the second they fire." Morgan kept her tone. "Level, helm, hold position. Do not twitch." Outside, the Sentinel drifted alongside them, silent and still, its hull absorbing the light from Haelor's sun until it looked like a piece of the void. It was close enough that Morgan could almost imagine she felt its presence pressing against her mind. The comm system hissed, then crackled into life. Lord Zyre's face appeared on the main screen, his black eyes gleaming with contempt. "Human vessel, you are a parasite clinging to something you do not understand. The Sentinel is not your ally. Leave now, and I may grant you safe passage." Morgan gave him a hard stare. "You sent a living bomb onto my ship, Zyre. Forgive me if I don't trust your generosity." Zyre smiled faintly. "You think you survived because you were clever? No. You survived because it allowed you to. And it will discard you when your usefulness ends." Before Morgan could respond, another voice cut across the comms, deep, calm, and impossibly cold. "Haelor." "Homeworld," the Sentinel said. "You stand in violation of the ancient accord. Surrender or be erased." The Haelor leader's smile vanished. "You have no claim here. This is our world. Not for long," the Sentinel replied. A ripple of unease swept across the bridge. Kayla glanced at her readings. "Captain, the Sentinel's weapons are charging." Rios looked even more unsettled. "It's not aiming at the ships, Captain. It's aiming at the planet itself." Morgan's gut twisted. "Sentinel, stop. Millions live down there. This isn't a war. It's the Sentinel." Ignored her. "Captain Morgan, you will deliver an ultimatum on my behalf. They have 1 hour to comply, and if they don't, they will learn the cost of arrogance." Morgan turned to Kayla. "And Rios, mute the channel." She leaned forward, speaking low. "Options?" Kayla shook her head. "Can't take on the Haelor fleet and the Sentinel. We'd be vapored before we even got through half their defenses." Rios said, "We might not have to. Look at this." He pulled up a scan of the Haelor's planetary defense grid. One massive structure in polar orbit stood out, drawing in huge amounts of power. "This is the Starbreaker. I think it's their ace in the hole. They fire. This thing, it's not aimed at us. It's aimed at the Sentinel." Morgan's brow furrowed. Meaning Rios said if they use it, they might kill it. But the fallout would destroy half their own planet. We'll be caught in the blast. A new voice came over the Zyre again, but this time without the arrogance. "Human Captain, you are not our enemy. Leave now, and I will destroy the machine. Stay, and you die with it." Morgan's eyes narrowed. "You'd sacrifice your world just to kill the Sentinel." "It will kill us all if we do not," Zyre said. Kayla muttered, "This is insane." Morgan stared at the tactical display. At the two Titans, Sentinel and Starbreaker, reach moments away from firing. If she sided with the Haelors, she might destroy the Sentinel. But there was no guarantee they'd let humanity live afterward. If she sided with the Sentinel, she'd be helping something that treated genocide like a tactical option. The Sentinel's voice cut in again, unbidden. Choose wisely, Captain. Your actions here will echo far beyond this system. On the viewport, the Starbreaker's core flared to life, its light washing the Haelor homeworld in a blood-red glow. Kella's console beeped urgently. Captain, 2 minutes until they fire. Aim. Morgan straightened, her decision burning in her chest. All hands, battle stations. We're not letting either of them have their way. The Valiant's engines roared to life, angling straight toward the Starbreaker. Outside, the Sentinel began to move, shadowing them like a predator, curious about prey, and deep inside Morgan's mind, single thought repeated. One wrong move, and the history of two civilizations ends today. The Haelor homeworld sun pulsed unnaturally, casting red light across the void. The Starbreaker's colossal frame hung in polar orbit like a sleeping beast waking from a nightmare, its core now blazing so bright that the Valiant sensors struggled to process the output. Kella's voice was tight. Captain, the Starbreakers, drawing power directly from the sun. If they fire that thing, the energy release will boil us alive, Morgan finished grimly. How long until it's ready? 1 minute? Maybe less. Rios was working furiously at his console. Captain, I'm detecting something else. The Sentinel's charging its own main weapon, but it's not aiming at the Starbreaker anymore. Morgan turned sharply. Then what's it aiming at? Rios hesitated. USHIS. The bridge went silent, except for the hum of the Valiants. Engines. Outside, the black hull of the Sentinel shifted, plates sliding open to reveal a glowing aperture deep within, its light growing brighter by the second. Kella's voice was barely above a whisper. Captain, it's going to destroy us. Before we can interfere, Morgan's gut twisted. The Sentinel hadn't brought them here as an ally. They were a variable, and it was removing variables. Helm, she ordered. Bring us around full burn toward the Starbreaker. We'll use its bulk as cover from the Sentinel. The Valiant surged forward, cutting close enough to the Starbreaker's superstructure that the ship's shields rippled from the heat radiating off it. The Haelor defense fleet swarmed in response, but none dared fire this close to their own doomsday weapon. The cum crackled to life. Lord Zyre's face appeared again, sweat glistening on his pale skin. You're either the bravest human I've ever seen, or the most foolish. Why are you here? To make sure you don't destroy your own world, Morgan snapped, and to stop it. Zyre's expression hardened. Then we have the same goal. He tapped something off-screen. Sending you access codes to the Starbreaker's maintenance arrays. Use them well, human. Rios's console beeped. Captain, codes received, but we'll have to get inside to use them. The Sentinel's voice rolled through the comms, deep and cold. You are interfering, Captain Morgan? This is unwise. Morgan ignored it. Helm, bring us to docking alignment with the Starbreaker. Kayla, prep a boarding team. We're shutting this thing down from the inside. The moment the Valiant latched onto the Starbreaker's maintenance port, the ship shuddered violently. Rios cursed. Captain, it's the Sentinel. It's moving in. Through the viewport, the massive black warship loomed closer, its weapon aperture now burning. With white fire, it wasn't hesitating this time. Kayla looked up, panic edging her voice. Captain, if it fires, it'll punch straight through us and the Starbreaker. Morgan's mind raced. Rios, can we make the Starbreaker fire early? He blinked. Fire. I know what it would do. Just tell me. Rios hesitated. Yes, but the shot would be unstable. It wouldn't hit full strength. That's the point, Morgan said. Do it. Target the rift. Not the Sentinel. Kayla stared at her. Captain, if we destabilize the rift, it'll pull everything in, Morgan said. The Sentinel, the Starbreaker, the whole Haelor fleet, and maybe that thing inside it? The deck vibrated under their feet as the Sentinel's weapon charged to its peak. Kella's hands flew over the controls. Firing sequence ready. Do it, Morgan said. The Starbreaker's core flared, light bursting outward in a blinding wave. The unstable beam shot past the Sentinel, tearing into the rift's distant edge. Space itself seemed to shudder, the black void twisting violently. The Sentinel's calm voice came again, but for the first time, there was something in it that might have been surprise. Interesting. Then the rift began to collapse. The gravitational pull hit like a tidal wave, dragging ships, debris, and weapons fire into the spinning maelstrom. The Sentinel tried to pull away, its massive engines burning white-hot. But the force was relentless. Kella's console screamed warnings. Captain Weir caught in it too. Morgan gritted her teeth. Helm, all power to the drives, get us clear. Through the viewport, the Sentinel's enormous frame tilted, caught halfway between escape and oblivion. Superstructure groaned, twisting, as entire sections were torn away into the rift's hungry light. Rio shouted over the chaos. Captain, if we don't break free now, we're going with them. Morgan's hands tightened on the armrests.
Hold.
Together, Valiant. Just a little longer. Behind them, the sun, over the Haelor homeworld, dimmed as the rift's pull grew stronger. The Sentinel's voice cut across the come one final time, low and certain. This is not over, Captain Morgan. Then its vast form was dragged into the collapsing rift, vanishing in a flash of white fire. The pull weakened. The Valiant broke. Free, spinning wildly before stabilizing. But in the silence that followed, Morgan knew the war was far from over, because anything that powerful never truly stayed gone. Debris drifted like snow in the cold vacuum, the shattered remains of Haelor warships tumbling slowly against the distant glow of their dying sun. The Valiant hung in low orbit over the planet, scarred but alive. On the bridge, Kella's voice was soft, almost reverent. Captain, the Starbreaker's offline. Core is dead. The Haelor fleet's in full retreat. Morgan didn't relax. They're not surrendering. They're regrouping. Rhea studied his readouts. If they do, it won't be today. It comes there in chaos. Half their ships think the Sentinel's still coming back. Morgan's jaw tightened. Half of them might be right. The cum crackled with static before Lord Zyre's face appeared, bruised and furious, but no longer smug. Human Captain, the Sentinel is gone. Leave our system, and your people will be spared. Morgan stared at him. You tried to kill us. You were ready to burn your own planet just to win. I'm not leaving until you explain why. Zyre hesitated, his eyes flicking away from the screen. Because the Sentinel is not a ship, it is a prison, and it is not empty. Rios froze. A prison? For what? Zyre's voice dropped. We don't know its true name. The ancient records call it the Mind Beyond Stars. It was locked away long before our species evolved. We were its jailers. When you destroyed part of the rift, he trailed off. Morgan's gut twisted. We broke the lock, Zyre nodded. And now, Captain, whatever was inside is free. Before Morgan could reply, Kayla gasped. Captain Long Range. Sensors are picking up. Something, no, many somethings. On the viewport, space rippled far beyond the system's edge. Dozens of massive dark shapes emerged from the distortion. Their silhouettes nothing like the Sentinels. They moved in perfect silence. No coms, no lights, no engine signatures. Just cold, deliberate motion. Rios's voice was low. A fleet. And they're not Haelor. They're not human. The lead shape pulsed with a faint alien glow. Then a voice not overcomes, but inside their heads spoke in a chorus of tones. The warden is gone. The gates are open. We are free. Kella's hands trembled over her console. Captain. They're heading straight for the core worlds. Morgan forced her voice to stay steady. Get us moving. We need to warn Earth. The Valiant's engines flared to life, breaking orbit and cutting across the shattered remains of the battlefield. Behind them, The alien fleet spread outward like a shadow, swallowing the stars one by one. Morgan didn't look back. She couldn't, because she knew deep down that this wasn't the end of the Haelor War. It was the start of something far worse. And when the Sentinel returned, it might not be the enemy they feared. It might be the only thing left that could save them.